Hi everybody, it's Warrant Officer Class Lutz back again with how to wear your blue uniform. Your blue uniform is one of the uniforms that you'll wear while a cadet. And your blue one is the most important one because this is the one that you wear for parades, public occasions, Remembrance Day, other awesome things in this program. So I'm here to show you how to properly wear your blue uniform. So, starting with your parade boots. You'll wear these with the gray wool socks that you get. Now, these boots are going to be shined just like I showed in one of my other videos. But the big thing is the laces. So you're going to make sure that these boots are straight laced across and you tie them in a reef knot. So that is where you tie them under and under again and across. And when wearing them, you'll end up tucking your laces into the boot so they are not visible. Your tied lace will be tucked into the boot so it is not visible. We don't want to see laces hanging out. Your boots should be kept clean and your boots should be polished. That's just things to look out for when wearing your parade boots. So the next thing you'll have to set up is your brass belt. And you'll be having this in a thing called brass on brass. So to get brass on brass, and what it looks like is when your belt is done up, this brass tab is going to cover this portion right here. So when you get it out of the packaging, what you want to do is take the end, which will be a lot shorter than this, and lift up this tab here. That's how you adjust your belt. You do not adjust your belt by moving this portion. You adjust it by removing this and adjusting it all the way down. Then, when you've gotten it to the correct point, where it fits you ideally and it creates brass on brass, just apply a bit of pressure and close the back of the thing. These belts are all made out of solid brass. Mine's a little golden, but yours will probably be the silver type. The thing about these belts, you don't have to polish them. You can wipe them clean, but you don't polish these. Do not polish your brass belt. It will rust. This is what's known as summer dress, and this is the first thing you'll always put on, even when you're wearing with your tunic. So what this consists of, it consists of your light blue dress shirt, your brass belt buckle and belt, your blue pants, and your black parade boots. And this is somewhat what it'll look like, as well as you'll have your wedge on. So, things to note when wearing this portion of your uniform. 1, ironing. Ironing is a big thing with the cadet uniform. Big things you have to watch with ironing is this dress shirt here. You want to make sure this collar is pressed, kept sharp, kept firm. You also want to make sure that these sleeves here have a seam running down the middle. And you want it to be one singular seam that goes down from the tip of the epaulette right here all the way down to this little cuff line. And some people have it on the cuff line too. For the pants, it goes from the second belt loop to the right all the way down the trouser. And it's a single straight line. So you'll notice it's a single straight line and it'll stick out when standing. There is also going to be one on the back running all the way down. The other thing that you're going to have to make sure that you always do is tuck in your shirt. This light blue dress shirt is always going to be tucked in to your blue pants. We don't want it hanging out. We don't want it draping down. It's not supposed to be worn like that. You wear it properly like this. If you don't have a necktie and you don't have a tunic and you're instructed to wear this, you do not keep the top button buttoned up. This is only done up when you have a tie on, so you're never going to have this little top button here done up unless you have a tie. So let's get on to how to wear the tunic with the tie. This is what you will wear if you don't have a tie, but you do have a tunic. So what you'll end up doing, you'll take your collared shirt and you'll put it over top of your outer tunic collar. And just make sure it's flat all the way around, including on the back. That's a big thing that you're going to do if you don't have a tie. And this is what the tunic is going to look like when you wear your tie. So the differences between wearing it without and wearing it with is your collar is going to be tucked down and you're going to have your tie. The top button of your dress shirt is also going to be done up. So we don't want to see this top button undone. If your dress shirt doesn't have one of those buttons, you're going to have to sew one of the replacement buttons, which are usually located at the bottom of the dress shirt, onto the collar here. So things to watch out while wearing the tunic. So big things are your badge placement, ironing your tunic, your name tag, and your belt. So going in reverse order, your belt. The belt is going to be centered with the line of buttons right in the middle. You're going to make sure all of these buttons, except for the absolute top one, is done up. This little belt here is going to make this usually a decent sized tail. And what you're going to end up doing with that is you're going to take the tail, curl it over, you're going to find one of these belt loops here, and you're going to tuck it under. And that's going to make this flat sort of tail effect. And that's what you want. The other thing is your name tag. So I have metal here, but if you don't have metal, or if you have a ribbon instead, it's going to sit flush against the top of the pocket here. It's going to be just less than a centimeter above. You don't want to put it onto the actual tunic pocket. It's going to sit above. If you have metal or a ribbon, it's going to go there, and you're going to have your name tag centered above. Your left pocket doesn't have anything on it. If you have a biathlon pin or a marksmanship pin or any of those, they'll go on this pocket here, but otherwise you don't wear anything on this pocket. Your pockets are always going to stay closed when in uniform, so your bottom ones and your top ones, buttons are always done up in a presentable fashion. Now for ironing your tunic, you're going to have to make sure you don't iron a crease down the sleeve of your tunic. Your tunic contains all of your badges on it. And the big thing is you don't want to crease through your badges, iron your badges in half, or even iron on your badges. But the big thing is you don't want to iron a crease down the sleeves of your tunic. You can roll press, so roll up your sleeve and then roll it out while ironing, but otherwise you do not iron a seam down your tunic. These shoulder straps here, you'll see at the top, are going to stay buttoned up. You're not going to have to put anything on them. You don't put your shoulder slide that you get when you get promoted, you don't put that on the top here. There's nothing put on there. And your collar should just cover the first buttons. The other thing with this collar is you don't want to have it up. Your collar is going to stay sharply down and flat all around. And this is what it's going to look like while wearing your tunic. Other things to note while wearing your tunic are badge placement. So, right at the top, you have your shoulder flash. This is called a shoulder flash, and it sits 1 centimeter below the top of the shoulder. It's going to be centered, and it's going to be sewn in with a thread that matches the fabric color. So pearl gray in this instance. The next thing is qualification badges or your level badge. These will go on the left sleeve. They'll go right against the cuff here. So if you have a level badge or a proficiency badge, they'll go right against the cuff. Your level badge will be centered. It'll be centered all the way up and down the sleeve. Easy way to make sure you're centering badges, take a piece of string when you're about to sew them on, tie it around the button here, drag it all the way down your arm. It'll guarantee that your arm is centered, and it'll also help when placing on rank badges. So when rank badges go on, for example, I'm a warrant officer here, so that will sit right at my cuff. But if you are an LAC or corporal, flight corporal, sergeant, or flight sergeant, your badge will go straight in the middle. So it'll go right here, just above your elbow. And the bottom of the badge should be right about at your elbow. So that's where the LAC propeller will go. And you'll sew it in again with a thread that matches the color of the tunic. So it'll go right there. So it is not noticeable. You don't want to have it all the way up. That's not where you wear it. And you don't wear it at the cuff because you're not a warrant officer. Warrant officers will wear their insignia at the cuff. Everyone else will wear their insignia in the middle. Air cadets, so the starting rank that you get, there is no insignia, so you'll just have bare sleeves on your tunic. The last thing is camp badges. So if you have a camp badge, for example, I have my GT and AAC badge, they'll sit centered right at the bottom of your right sleeve. So this is your right sleeve. This is what it'll look like. You can find all the details about badge placement inside the uniform guide that'll be handed out. The last uniform item you're going to put on is your wedge cap. And your wedge cap is quite special because it's one of the few differences that Air Cadets have in their uniforms compared to the other elements. So the big thing with your wedge cap when putting it on is making sure that it is centered. So you'll have these two brass buttons here, and you'll want to make sure, and just when you're putting it on, you can put your hands straight up and down and make sure it's centered. Next thing is your badge. That'll always be on the left side of your wedge. So you'll have this band all the way down to the bottom, your badge on the left side. You're going to slightly tilt it to your right. Slightly tilt your wedge to the right. If you notice, there's an eagle on it. The eagle is going to fly. So you're going to have to slightly tilt your wedge. You're not going to wear it compressed fully down on your head. It's going to sit there. It's about 2 finger widths from your left eyebrow and about 3 from your right. And that's just a rough guide on how to placing on your wedge. The other thing is preventing what's called a double wedge, where you have these brass pieces up too high. You're going to just make sure that they sit right at the bottom when you're wearing your wedge. If you sit down on the parade square, or if you sit anywhere else, you're going to take your wedge off. It's as simple as that. It's common respect. So if you sit in a chair, or if you sit down, take your wedge off. If you're also eating or drinking, you'll take your wedge off. So if you use a water fountain, take your wedge off, take a drink of water, put it back on. Another big thing about your uniform is uniform maintenance. Big thing week to week is making sure you hang up your uniform, or at the least fold it. Don't, when you get home after the parade, just take your uniform off, crumple it into a ball, and throw it into a pile in the corner of your room. You want to make sure your uniform is clean, tidy, and well maintained for the next week. So big things like hanging it up, especially on coat hangers, helps a lot, especially with keeping, say, creases on both your shirt and your pants. The other thing to do every couple weeks is to wash your uniform. This will generally make sure that your uniform stays clean and is free of stains, dandruff, lint, whatever else will get on your uniform. Before parade, you should usually take a lint roller to your uniform and just absolutely make sure that it's clean, just to make sure you are the best looking for parade. So this is what your ceremonial uniform will look like in the end. This is your blue uniform. This is what you'll wear during training nights where we're not in the FTU. So what this looks like is this. It contains your tunic, your tie, your dress shirt, your wedge, your pants, your boots, and underneath, your brass belt. You're keeping this all smart, you're keeping it clean, and you're keeping it tidy. Lint roll your uniform before you put it on, usually for weekly parades, just in case you have pets or you get something on it. Otherwise, I am still Warrant Officer 2nd Class Lutz. Hopefully this helps out you with improving your uniform standards and makes you look good for parade. Thank you.